Pauline Hanson is calling for the federal police to take action over independent Senator Lidia Thorpe's controversial remarks at a pro-Palestinian protest. The One Nation leader posted the letter on X declaring, "I'm sick to death of no one taking action against Senator Thorpe for her vile behaviour." Writing to the Federal Police Commissioner Chrissy Barrett, Ms Hanson claims she's sickened by weak politicians and the continual inaction who pretend Senator Thorpe's comments have no bearing on the Australian public. If the Albanese government will not put a stop to Senator Thorpe's actions, we are depending on authorities like the Federal Police to take action. Let's bring in the Chief Opposition Whip, Violi. Aaron, what do you make of this latest contribution from Senator Thorpe?
Well, unfortunately, it's a classic Lidia Thorpe, not helpful, doesn't actually address any of the real challenges that we've been sent to Canberra to solve. However, most disappointingly, completely outrageous and unacceptable, calling for violence, concerning to see. And we have to be very careful as elected officials in understanding that our words have power. And Lidia Thorpe today said, it wasn't meant to be taken literally. Well, the risk is that someone does take that literally, and we can't have that. It's not just MPs and senators and our staffers. There are a lot of staff that work in the kitchens and the gyms and other areas that wouldn't want to hear this. It's their workplace, completely inappropriate. She's been condemned and she should be condemned.
And in terms of the Federal Police letter sent by Senator Hanson, would you support that for them to get involved?
Well, on the face of it, it does look that a threat has been made, and ultimately that's a decision for the AFP. I'm not in the habit of directing or asking whether it's Victoria Police here in Victoria or the AFP to how they should conduct their operations. I trust our law enforcement agencies to act in our best interest and keep the community safe. So I'll leave it to the AFP to make a decision on what they think is appropriate. But on the face of it, that is a serious threat. If a member of the public had made that, we wouldn't accept it. So there should be the same rule for everyone in the community, whether you're an elected official or not.
The Treasurer has announced a major backdown on the superannuation tax changes. A lot of them you've been calling for. You've been critical of elements of it. Does this satisfy you now? Are you happy with this plan?
Well, firstly, this is a stunning backflip by the Treasurer. It is clear that he has been rolled by the Prime Minister. We saw last week in Senate estimates that Treasury had to give a briefing to the Prime Minister's office. So it's clear that the Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, has no faith at all in Jim Chalmers as Treasurer, and he has had to step in and roll him. Conveniently for the Prime Minister, he's made the Treasurer come out today on the first day of his holiday to announce it so the PM can avoid media for the week. So clearly no faith in the Treasurer. You know, we've said our two biggest concerns were indexation and the taxing of unrealised capital gains. So it looks on the face of it from what the Treasurer has said that they are off the table. But obviously we know in the coalition all too well, and the Australian people know that the devil is in the detail when it comes to this government's legislation. I know our Shadow Treasurer, Ted O'Brien, will be out shortly to give more detail on the coalition position. So we'll wait to see and make sure that we scrutinise this legislation, because even in the press conference, which I was able to see, there's more detail and more questions that this Treasurer, who's clearly out of his depth and struggling at the moment, couldn't answer.
Quick favour. If you are the kind of person who loves Australia and wants to stay ahead of what is really happening in our country's politics, hit that subscribe button. It helps us keep this channel going. Over 90% of viewers have not yet, and it would mean the world to us if you did. Thank you. Now back to the show. Pauline Hanson has had enough. Not of the Greens, not of Labor. She has been fed up with both for decades. No, this time she has had enough of the Australian Federal Police sitting on their hands while a sitting senator says whatever she pleases with zero consequences. And she has taken her frustration directly to the top. Here's what happened. Independent Senator Lidia Thorpe, never one to let a microphone go to waste, delivered remarks at a pro-Palestinian protest that Hanson has since branded as vile and, more pointedly, potentially unlawful. Hanson didn't just issue a press release and call it a day. She posted an open letter on X addressed to AFP Commissioner Chrissy Barrett herself, and the message was about as subtle as a brick through a window. Take swift action, she demanded, if the Albanese government refuses to. Her exact words were that she is sick to death of no one taking action. Not frustrated, not disappointed, sick to death. When Pauline Hanson uses language like that, she's not sending a warning shot, she's firing the whole magazine. Now, before anyone files this under the usual Hanson versus Thorpe folder, and yes, there is history between these two, more history than a university library's basement, something genuinely different happened this time around. The opposition didn't distance themselves. Chief Opposition Whip Aaron Violi didn't issue one of those carefully worded non-statements designed to offend absolutely nobody while saying absolutely nothing. Instead, he called Thorpe's comments completely outrageous and unacceptable. He flagged the very real possibility that certain remarks, if taken literally by the wrong person, could lead to actual harm. And then he made a point so obvious it's almost embarrassing it needed to be said at all. Parliament House is a workplace. Real people work there, in the kitchens, in the gyms, in the hallways. People who didn't sign up to be collateral damage in a political grudge match. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're enjoying this coverage. It genuinely helps us bring you these stories without the filter that the major networks insist on slapping over everything that makes them uncomfortable. And here's where the accountability question gets genuinely fascinating. Violi was asked directly whether the AFP should step in. His answer was careful. He acknowledged a threat appears to have been made, but he also said it's ultimately the AFP's decision. Same rule for everyone, he said. That's the principle. Whether it plays out that way in practice is an entirely different question, and every Australian who has watched the two-speed justice system work at work knows it. Because here's the uncomfortable reality. Parliamentary accountability in this country moves at two distinctly different speeds. One speed for the people the political class approves of, another much faster speed for the people it does not. Pauline Hanson knows this better than almost anyone. She spent decades on the receiving end of that double standard, and she's betting that the Australian public is finally paying close enough attention to notice the difference. Meanwhile, in a completely unrelated corner of the political universe that somehow still manages to connect, Treasurer Jim Chalmers just performed what the opposition is gleefully labelling a stunning backflip on superannuation tax reform. Indexation changes and the taxing of unrealised capital gains, both now shelved, at least on the surface. The coalition's theory is that Prime Minister Albanese personally stepped in and overruled his own treasurer behind closed doors. Violi warns the devil will live in the legislative detail, and Shadow Treasurer Ted O'Brien is preparing the formal response. But for now, it looks like another capitulation from a government that is discovering governing is considerably more difficult than campaigning. The common thread running through all of this is accountability. Who has it, who demands it, who evades it entirely. Hanson is demanding the AFP hold Thorpe to account. The opposition is demanding Labor hold itself to account on economic management. And the Australian people are watching both dramas unfold, wondering whether anyone in Canberra actually answers to anyone anymore. Thank you for watching. We will be back with more from the Hill very soon.